Pinner, the man, the ball-playing skills, brought into the Great Britain squad this season. He controlled the play in midfield. Tremendous performance for St Helens. St Helens skipper puts his arm up in the air. Mr Miles Eastwood marking the direction of Matthew Brown to Harry Pinner, the Slalom Lager Premiership trophy for 1985.
This up and under which I've been talking about, Harry Pinner.
He's delighted, is that lad? This Great Britain skipper, Harry Pinner, he must be delighted with this win here today.
Welcome to Dockhouse Rugby League, legends of the game. I'm Alan Rooney. And legends, well, quite simply, they don't come any bigger than the legends we have in the studio today. And that, of course, is Harry Pinner, former Saints Leigh, Bradford Northern. Carlisle, can we say, Harry?
From Bradford, I went to Carlisle in my career.
Carlisle, did you want me to mention that?
Yes.
Okay, 8 games.
And then obviously assistant coach for John Monie at Wigan.
When did your interest really first begin in the game?
Well, I think the start really was both my uncles, Ike and Bill Fishwick, played for St Helens. So obviously they showed a lot of, I showed a lot of interest in them, and they showed a lot of interest in me, helping me. And that. So I think that was the start of it, really. As I say, because both uncles played professional.
So what about school? Which school? You play at school, obviously.
Yeah, I went to Derbyshire Hill, but it was more football then. I was sports mad, always sport, football, rugby, cricket, anything. Then I went to Par Central. That was this more senior school, and I played obviously I was captain of the town, captain of Lancashire, and captain of the under 20. I think it was under 21s then, or under 18. Sorry, for Great Britain. And again, that's when I moved on. Like when I got signed at 17, 18.
Where did your career begin at Saints? Signing from Blackbrook or school? How did it work?
Do you know what, Alan? People ask me this, and I can't remember whether I just come through from school to the Colts. I can't remember playing at Blackbrook or Pilks Rex or Latchford or Rylands. I don't think, I just think I came, I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Can you remember actually signing the forms though to play for Saints?
Yeah.
And what did mum and dad think, apart from yourself, excited as a young lad, St Helens, famous rugby league team, and you were signing for them?
Yeah.
How did mum and dad look at that?
First of all, Wigan was interested in me as a kid when I was at Colts. And I went down to Wigan and they said I would never be big enough. But obviously I was always wanted to go to Saints anyway. So that was, I always wanted, and I think there was 4 of us signed on that day at Saints. There was like myself, Johnny Smith, Mike Nolan and Tommy Cunningham, the hooker.
Yeah.
So as I said, we signed that, and it was thrilling because my dad was Saints mad all over the years, with Vollenhoven and Murph and people like that.
And so you joined an elite club. How long was it before you actually made your debut? Did you play a lot in the 18?
No, I didn't play a lot. I don't think I played a season. And Eric Ashton, who, God bless him, he's a fantastic person, fantastic coach. He gave me my chance. And luckily I took it because I don't think I went back in the 18 then. I might have had a few games, I'm not sure, to be honest, Helen, but, I was in there and I knew I wanted to stay there. So obviously I had to up my game, fitness and everything again, which I did do.
So, Harry, you've got a photograph next to you there. It seems to be from Wembley. You're there with a tracksuit. What do you remember of that photograph?
Well, to be perfectly honest, it was a red hot day. Reggie Borden said that Widnes was going to hammer us and he would jump off Runcorn Bridge if we beat them. And as you probably know, we hammered them.
And what year was it? Do you remember?
1976. I didn't play. I was reserved with Lippy, Graham Littrop. Me and him was reserves. But we, as I say, we had a great game. There's some great players on there if you look at them.
Who do you remember from that game as playing?
For us?
Yeah.
Well, there was Georgie Nick, Jeff Pimlett, sorry, Eric Chisnall, Derek Noonan, Jeff Eaton, John Mantle.
Some top players there.
Yeah, great players.
Very strong team. So what do you remember about before the game? The changing room?
Well, we went down there about 3 days before, and we stayed in a nice hotel, a lovely hotel. I can't remember the actual name of it, Dave. And obviously we trained every day, twice a day. But it was just a relaxing time. And then the morning of the game, we had whatever we used to eat. Obviously, I wasn't playing, so I think I had bacon and egg, me and Lippy. But and as I say, then we got the build up to the game.
And then when you got to the ground, there was about 90,000 watching on that day. The atmosphere must have been incredible down at pitch level.
Well, as I say, when we drove down Wembley Way in the coach, it was just, I couldn't believe how many spectators was there, and Saints, scarves and jerseys, same as there was again with Widnes. There was the same. Like, it was a fantastic turnout.
Yeah, and just a couple of years later, as we can see just to the side there, you've got a ticket for the 1978 final, and you did play in that one. What's your memories of 1978?
Well, first of all, I think the gate receipt for going in was, I think it was about £8, and I think there was about, was it 97,000 on? I'm not quite sure. But what do we remember of it? Well, again, I'd got in the team, and I wasn't that old then. And we scored the first try, and I put up an under-up, and Lippy caught it. It went off two of their players behind the try line, and Lippy's thing is that he always said he'd run 30 yards, but he didn't. He was walking back and just happened to catch the ball.
It nearly hit him on his head.
And he flopped over under the. But again, as I said, it was a great game. We had some good players, and they had some great players. But we lost 14. Was it 14-12? I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I remember it was a close
14.
game. Yeah.
And they always said about poor Derek Noonan, God bless him, he's died now. That we'd have won the game if he'd have caught the ball.
Tragedy there. It looked as if it was over.
What a tragedy that! Noonan dropped that ball with a 2-1 overlap. Then it must have been a score, and it must have really put St Helens in an uncatchable position.
But these things happen, and there's, it's happened. I mean, Les Jones is on the outside of him, so we don't. If they would miss Derek out and give it to Les, he could have. He may have scored. But going back to after the game, obviously it was like really, really upsetting that we did a lap of honour then, and I was all right till I got round to the end near the tunnel, and there was a load of young kids crying their eyes out, and to be honest, I couldn't angle it, and I ended up getting upset. And I run down the tunnel to get out the way. And I went in the toilets. And the next thing, Georgie Nick come and banged on the door. And he said, "Out now, get out." He said, "And you've got to face everything." And I always remember George doing that to me. And as I said, I've got the most respect for Georgie Nichols.
That must have been tough at the time, so it's upsetting, it's hit you. You're feeling it, but a bit of tough love from Georgie Nichols. You think that was the right decision and in good stead?
Well, it does because it does because I think I've done it for other people now, for other players. There's only winning and losing, and as I said to my grandchildren, as long as you come off that field and you've done your best. If you've got beat, well, you've got beat. Yeah.
So has Lippy ever bought you a couple of pints for putting him in a try at Wembley?
No, well, he has, Lippy, yeah. As I said, we signed at 17, me and Lippy.
Now, as you sign, Harry, fair to say Saints don't have many doubts, but around about 78 after the Wembley defeat, the team started to age, players went out, and to be honest, at that time, it wasn't the strongest of Saints sides, but after a couple of seasons, the likes of yourself, Chris Arkwright, Barry Ledger, Andy Platt, Roy Haggerty, Chris Arkwright, you name them, all came through as well as yourself. And then, of course, signing Mal Meninga and Phil Vivers. Yeah. How influential was Mal Meninga?
Well, just going back to what you said about players finishing and that, and I was lucky in the sense that when I signed, I had George Nichols, who was, he was like a second dad to me. We always had this story that he's still looking after me now. When my dad asked him at 17, would he look after me?
I remember Harry when he arrived, as you say, his dad, very nice man, thought the world and was always wanted to look after Harry. Like, he was always down watching him training and that, some parents did. And Harry, old Harold, his name was, Harry obviously named after him. And I remember, as I say, Harry arriving at the time. It was Harry, probably Lippy and Arky and a few more, all the similar age. And early 70s, obviously, so I've known him for a long time and still knowing him now, can't get rid of him. As he is now, he's always keen, he wants to do everything right, he doesn't, he likes to be, to do it right, do the right thing, and that's obviously just coming in as a young kid and all. He wanted to do well at rugby. He was really keen, along with the other lads, don't get me wrong. And I can always remember him early days, obviously, and after training sessions we'd go into the lounge at the club and sit and before we all left going home after training. And say Harry's, his dad would be in there, Harold, waiting for him to come off the training pitch. And we'd all be sat round on a couple of tables, maybe a shandy or something after training before we all left to go home. And Harold would be there, and I say Harry was always keen to be sitting with us and talking to us. He wanted to learn in his own way from those more experienced players. And it's like you get talking about things. There was always one incident, I remember someone remarked, and old Harold was saying, "Oh, I hope you're going to look after me lad, when he comes." And there's a bit of a remark about he has to look after himself now. But I said, "Don't worry, Mr. Pinner." I said, "He'll be all right." I said, "I'll keep my eye on him." I said, "I'll make sure he's all right." Well, as I said, that's over 50 years ago, and he's still there. I can't get rid of him really, but Harry's Harry. He obviously turned out to be a good player for the club.
We had a great Billy Benyon, there's Tony Craylis, Lippy, obviously, he was the same age as me. So we had some great players then for me to go in. But as you said, after about 3 or 4 years, I started looking around and thinking, hang on, I'm the oldest here at 22.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of not took over from them lads, but I was not the oldest, but one of the more established. So it was really a big, it was a big change for me from going being pampered with Georgie Nick and people like that, to me really trying to sort Chris out, and which he didn't need sorting out, by the way. He was all great players.
Because we speak highly, or Saints do quite rightly, the academy rolling out terrific players this last few seasons. But when I look back to your side, 1984, crikey, that was full of young lads that had come off that particular conveyor belt.
Exactly. I think we beat OKR in the Premiership final. I think it was 85 that. Probably one of, my best games as well.
He's delighted, is that lad?
I've got a feeling that Mr. Harry Pinner will love this. Just watch this for a gap. He cannot believe it. Just watch his arm go up. Yes, he does like it. What a good try.
Because OKR was a very good side, but we really beat them quite easy in the end. And going again back to Mal Meninga, and Phil Vivers, great signing. Mal was obviously he was probably the best player in the world and a great guy as well.
Yeah.
Which meant quite a bit as well. He come over and there was no edge on him. And as I say, he was fantastic. But we had some great kids as well. We had some local lads, you know, as you've mentioned who they are.
As Mal Monie, we talk about his influence on the pitch, rightly so, absolute great. But what about in the dressing room, Harry, before the game? Did he have much to say? I know Billy was the coach, and quite rightly so, Billy Bennion, terrific coach. But I just wonder how Mal Monie's influence was. What was it like in the dressing room?
To be perfectly honest, Helen, I don't think Mal said a lot. I was captain at the time when Mal was here. I mean, they didn't take the captain off me and put Mal in, you know, which they could have done. But Mal knew what he was doing. As I said, he was probably the best player in the world at the time. And he'd come and talk to me and say what he wanted and and I'd make sure he got it because we knew how good he was. But he was not like shouting or bawling or that type of thing. He was quite quiet, Mal.
Talking, and rightly so, about the Saints squad as it is now, and to me, Harry, these lads that are representing the Saints at the moment, the one thing about them, apart from being talented, is there is a terrific spirit. Watch my back, I'll watch yours. Did you have that kind of experience when you was there?
We did have a good spirit, and the thing is, Alan, there's always better spirit if you're winning. You know what I mean? Winning's a big thing. Well, it's everything. And we had a good. We ended up breaking into a good side. We had a spell, as you said, where we struggled, and that. But obviously, we must have got our spirit together because we got to got to do well. And these lads now, obviously, are fantastic players, fit, strong, quick, and obviously well coached, and they're a great team.
One thing I miss, Harry, about today's game, well, it's a few things actually, but all positions have changed because of the way the game is played. Now, I don't see many Harry Pinners, many Dougie Lawtons, the whole and loose forward. Morgan Knowles is an absolutely terrific loose forward, but doesn't have the style that you or Dougie Lawton and people like you, ball players, and that's what I miss. How do you think, would you enjoy playing this game, playing as you did?
Well, again, as we've just said, it's entirely a different game, but I would enjoy it because some of these lads now, how they're coming onto the ball. I mean, a footballer's only as good if he's got runners off him. If they're not coming, running for you, Alan, you're going to get your head knocked off because you're a sitting duck.
Yeah.
Where again, I had Roy Agate, I had Paul Farber, Andy Platt, Paul Round, Chris Arkwright. So as much as the game's changed, I think like the short ball now, I still always works. If you pick somebody out, I used to always try and pick a bigger one out who couldn't get to me, and I'd drop the ball off or a short ball.
And well in support here is young Arkwright. He looks outside. Gary Ainsworth in good
So I wouldn't mind playing. I'm not sure about the day after getting battered like that.
Terrific characters. For example, your great pal, I know he's a terrific pal, as most past players are of yours, but Graham Liptrot. Graham was, can we say, a rum lad?
I don't tell you some of the things that we got up to, but
tell us some of them.
Right, I'll tell you I'll tell you two. One was we played Warrington at Warrington one night, and it was just always fights at Warrington. They had Boyd, Tamati, Rathbone, they was all mad animals. Anyway, about 4 got sent off, and the scrums was, scrums, and you could hear like Lippy, and Les Boyd was mauling him.
Les Boyd.
Yeah. I'm not saying he was gouging him, but it wasn't far. Yeah. He was sending thumps through. Anyway, late on, let me think how it went. Yeah, late on, there was a scrum, and the scrum broke down, but claps like, and Lippy kicked Les Boyd in the head.
Well, first of all, I never kicked anybody in the head. I couldn't do that. That wants some doing if you think about it.
But at the time, it was just when the numbers was coming up for, like, number 13 come off, it was me, or number 9, Lippy. So he kicked Lippy kicked him in the head. And the next thing, I said to him, Graham, you've just committed suicide, he'll kill you next scrum. So Lippy said, he won't, because I'm going off, look. Well, at the time, Eric Leach was just turning the number round. And Lippy thought he was 9 and it was 6. Peter Glynn coming off. So, obviously, Lippy had to stay on. So he said to me, he said, if there's another scrum, will you go hooker and I'll go loose forward?
Never asked anybody to do my job.
So I said, Lippy, you're my best mate, but I am not putting my head in that front row with Les Boyd and Kevin Tamati. Anyway, sure enough, stretcher, Lippy got carried off.
Oh, false. Honest to God, it's false. Boyd, if I could have got my hands on him, I would have kicked him in the head. He was an horrible, horrible, horrible rugby player to play against because he just runs straight at you. The best technique, in my opinion, then, you only learn this the more you play against him, is like a leg and arm tackle. Because apart from that, he just was. You'd go low and he'd run all over you, you know.
People probably don't know, but he had 4 broken jaws, Lippy.
Yes, he did.
4 broken jaws, you know, and kept coming back, which is some courage. Anyway, about the 3rd time he had his broken jaw, he had it all wired up and I went to see him. I went to see him in hospital with my dad. And because he couldn't talk because it was all wired up. So I said to him, it was around November. So I said, yeah. So he said, like, I can't eat grapes like this. So I said, they're not grapes. So he opened the bag.
It was bonfire toffee. Who gives somebody with a wired jaw bonfire toffee? I tell you now, it didn't go down well with me. I laughed my bloody head off. Then he asked me for £3 after it.
Graham was a bit older than me. And I played hooker for the Colts because my uncle, Ike Fishwick, he was a hooker. Anyway, I went to Saints, started training and playing with them, and the next thing that I got signed. And to be perfectly honest, I looked up at Graham, which I can't believe I did, but I did, because he was hooker, and you know, I kind of, as I say, I did look up to him. And then eventually we both got in the A team. Graham was playing a bit of first team, I think, before me. And we just, you know, from then on, we just got on. And as I say, signed at about 17. I'm 67 now, and we've never had one argument. And I mean that we've we've had disagreements, but we've never fell out. We've never had arguments, and we're just true friends together.
Never had one arguments. And he used to bollock everybody, he never bollocked me. One in, all in. That happened in the 18. You go at first team and thump somebody, and the about 5, you're on your own. And that's just the way it is. Not because they didn't like you or respected you, it's just, you know. And I agree with it because you can't have everybody fighting all the time. Even though Speckies used to love it.
Tell her, or should I tell them?
No, well, first and foremost, when I got inducted into the Hall of Fame, which was a great honour, don't get me wrong, when I looked at my thing, his teeth, it must have had them in the pie or something, and then he put them in my pint glass. There was all bloody floaters on top of it, and his bloody teeth at the bottom.
And he didn't notice, and I kept saying to him, there's no bite in this beer. I don't know what's up with this bitter and this lager. And then obviously when he got hold of his glass and he went like that, the teeth was facing him. So
he's a bugger.
You talked about Les Boyd and Kevin Tamati, but Saints had a few hard men. I mean, Chris Arkwright could certainly look after himself.
Chris was as hard as nails, and he didn't care. He wasn't fussy who he hit or. But he'd have it as well, and that's a sign of a good player and a hard player. You know, it's all right having cheap shots at people, but if they're not going to have it as well, the cheap aren't they? Were Chris was that? You know, he's a great player, good footballer. Oh yeah, Chris.
We're watching a replay of it right now. As Lewis, I'm watching the ball go to Simmons. Oh yes, it's as late as you like. It's the left forearm, like a forearm jolt in wrestling.
Roy Haggerty, massive, massive favourite, but again, a character.
Yeah, Roy was, he was hard as nails. And again, we did what we called a crisscross move where, they come diagonal and he come on the ball. I said to him, your ball on this crisscross, Roy. He said, all right, Harry, that's how he used to be. And he come on to this crisscross ball. And as he come on, Danny Campbell from Wigan was waiting for him. And he just stiff-armed him there. And Roy's legs went above his head and banged down right in front of me. He just cut him in half. And as daft as we all used to say about Roy, he said, Harry, no more crisscrosses for me. So, he was all there, Roy, but yeah, he was good lad, hard lad as well.
Terrific time at Saints. I think I'm right in saying well over 300 games for you.
Yeah.
And then it was a move to Widnes. I think probably John Fieldhouse come the other way.
Yeah.
But how did all that come about? Because
excuse me,
captain of Saints, terrific player, and yet how could Harry Pinner believe in Saints?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, Helen, I had a great understanding with Billy Benyon. He was coach, I was captain, and we got on fantastic. He did me no favours or vice versa. But then Murph come. Alex Murphy, he was at Leigh, he tried to sign me. At Wallington, he tried to sign me. At Wigan, he tried to sign me. I think there's another club, I can't remember. But when he come, we just clashed, or he just clashed with me for some reason, and we never got on. And he put me on the list. I was still captain of Saints, I was captain of Great Britain, and it was my testimonial year. So I had a lot going for me there, obviously. But for some reason, Murph never, we clashed. And there was other things involved.
Yeah. Did you, but when a player goes like yourself in that situation, talks about John Fieldhouse, did you feel, he's put me on the list, I know, but do I have to go? Could you have said, ain't going anywhere?
Well, I probably could, but he wouldn't play me then, would he?
Right,
I didn't want to be out of the game. And as I said, look as it, Dougie Lawton, who was one of my favourite players because he was loose forward, he come for me, and me and John Fieldhouse swap, a straight swap. I think it was a straight swap, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it was.
So I went to Widnes and he come. But it's no use playing somewhere that you're not wanted with. So I knew it was all.
Did that hurt?
Yeah, it did because. Again, my dad had watched Saints with Vollenhoven, and then he'd seen me come through, and as I said, it wasn't as though it was like past my best, really. I'd like to think he had a bit more to offer.
So what was life like at Widnes then? Different culture, I would think, from St Helens, maybe the style of play, your style in particular. So how did it go at Widnes?
Well, obviously it was different, and it always would be from being a local lad, even though Widnes was only like 10 miles away or whatever. But Widnes had some great players. I mean, one of the best players I've ever played was Tony Myler.
Oh,
fantastic player. And the Humes was good players. We had some good players there. Kurt Sorensen, he was obviously a good player. But it was never the same, but it wouldn't be the same because...
Did you play the same style of game when you was...
Yeah, I did, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the first game we played, we hammered Hull KR. And I think John Bassnett scored 5 tries. So that's throwing the ball about quite a bit, isn't it? And playing that type of rugby. The hardest game I've ever played was against Australia on a Wednesday night for Widnes.
At Norton Park?
At Norton Park, and I was coming back from injury, and Bamford said, if you prove your fitness, I'll put you back in the test side. So I thought, right. And we had like young Humes, Richie Hurs, they was all only kids.
Yeah.
I was loose forward. They had the Australian team. There was some of their lads trying to get in the test side. So
lot to play for.
A lot to play for. And their side, just naming a few, was Meninga, Siren, Benny Elias, Wally Lewis. They all played.
Wow.
And that scrum half, Brandy, they call it. Greg
Alexander.
Greg Alexander, yeah.
And he was scrum half, he was playing. And honest to God, they battered me. and I mean battered me. It's the worst experience I've ever had in my rugby career.
Do you think they targeted you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they'd said
they were
if
coached
Pinner's
too.
get back, if Pinner he's back in the test side. And the honest to God, they really hammered me.
Yeah.
And late on in the game, that Alexander come round the back of the scrum, and I did something that I've never ever done. And I stamped on him. I stamped on his hand.
Yeah.
And I think I broke his hand. Because he did have to go home, I think. I'm not sure about that. But they hammered me. Anyway, he come to me after the game and he said, "You've broke my so-and-so hand." I said, "Listen, look, stay to me."
Yeah.
I said, "You've all had a smack at me tonight." I said, "So don't be giving me that." And I remembered Dougie Lawton coming over and he said to me, "Harry, how you stayed on there tonight, I'll never know."
Well, from Widnes having, relative success there in terms of winning games, and then, am I right in saying, on to Leigh?
You are, yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, it's a funny tale really, but because, and he's a good friend of mine now, but Tony Cottrell, he used to always be chasing me. He was like Tom and Jerry trying to knock me head off.
Yeah.
And we have a laugh about it. Anyway, we play Leigh this day, and again he's after me. And I think I stamped on his hand. I'm not sure, something happened like that. So I knew he'd be after me. Anyway, cut a long story short, after the game, Billy Benyon was coaching Leigh, and he said he was after me, wanting me. And in all fairness, Dougie said, "Look, you can go if you want, because I want Derek Pike, the prop." So that was a swap.
Yeah.
And he always said that he only went to Leigh because I didn't play against Cottrell, Tony again. And again, when I went there, me and Tony was like, he was like my minder. He was a fantastic lad.
Yeah.
And, but he knew how to throw it about a bit.
And then the style, like it's like at Widnes, was that your same? Do you always play the same style? In other words, what I'm trying to say, Harry, is was you governed to play a certain way, or did you get a free pass to do what you do?
It came that there was an opportunity, and to me, is that he could reiterate what I was saying to players on the training pitch. He could do what I was asking them to do, but he'd be there to help them do it, which that was a key thing in his career really. He got it over to players what was wanted and achieved, and he did that when he came to Leigh. Players, the young players there looked up at him in awe of him, because he was a special person, a special player.
I had a free pass really that way, because Billy knew what I could do and how I played. And again, we had some good lads there at Leigh. We had a New Zealand kid called Jeff Clark, Maori type lad. He was a good player. Obviously, we had Brian Dunn. He used to run well off me. So we had some good players there as well.
And then, was it on to Bradford?
Yeah. Well, that's another story. Leigh had to stay up. Leigh had to win the last game of the season to stay up. But Wellington had to get beat by Salford. It was one of them. Yeah. Anyway, we found out at half time that we couldn't stay up anyway. And we was playing Bradford. And they had a lad called Brendan Hill.
Yeah. Prop forward.
Yeah, prop forward. He was about 5'9" and about 28 stone. Yeah. Anyway, basically, he come at me because I was outside a bit wide out. And he didn't really try and knock my head off, but he did and he didn't. And I had a free shot at him from behind. I thumped him. Well, it caused a mass brawl. So anyway, caused a brawl, which I was wrong, don't get me wrong. Anyway, I then signed for Bradford. Barry Seaborn, the coach, he said to Billy, "You're going down." And I said, "I believe that your agreement is with Harry that he doesn't have to play in the second division." So Billy let me go to Bradford. Anyway, they went on a beginning of the season trip, get all the lads together. I went down there. I went to Isle of Man. Anyway, they said, "Pick your roommates." So I knew quite a few of them, Gal, Furbanks, Hobbs, Noble,
Yeah.
knew all them because I'd played with them with Great Britain. Anyway, they left one person. And yeah, it was Brendan Hill. And I was petrified to go in the bedroom with him. But no, Brendan was, again, he was a great lad, Brendan, yeah. And we had a laugh about it.
I think many ways, Harry, nothing has changed in terms, apart from the game itself, but in terms of rugby league and rugby league lads and people that's involved with it, you're a good breed, aren't you? I'm lucky because dealing with rugby league players and coaches, it's been what you might say a doddle, really, and nothing changes in that. Today's lads are just the same as the lads in your day.
Well, that's right. I mean, as I said, I think is it 5 teams I played with?
Yeah.
And I can never ever remember falling out with one of them.
No.
And if I had any difference I've had was with Alex Murphy. But you know, like now when I see him, I speak to him and talk to him because you know you can't hold grudges.
No.
But as I say, and even the players played against, like Knockin' Horton, who was a great rival, me and him. You know, and I speak to him a bit now. Gary Schofield, lads, you know. So there is they're all great lads, most of them. Well, they have been with me anyway. 5
clubs thereabouts, Harry. So played under numerous coaches. So if I said to you, one coach can coach me for whatever team, who would you?
Benyon.
Yeah, why? Tell me why.
Because Billy Benyon was, his man management was great. He was an ex-player, which I know always doesn't. All the best players don't always make the best coaches. But his man management was great, and you felt as though you'd run through a wall for Billy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather run through the door, but that's how he was. You just wanted to do your best for yourself, and but your best for Billy as well.
First time I met Harry was when he came as a youngster to Saints. I'd been there about 10 years or so. He came there as a teenager. People saying quite a lot of good things about him. So it was a pleasure to see someone else come in from St Helens with a good knowledge of what the profession was going to be. I was still playing. I was, as I say, I was in the Saints till the 70s, 77 or so. And I think Harry came as 2 years before that. So he was an 18 player, then he made first team appearances, and then just prior to me leaving, he was a first team player and a player with a lot of renown and respect. Yeah. Harry had the potential of being from an early as a fixture in a side, a person that other players could look to and get a response from. And he was one of them that when he came, he was a quick learner, especially at the level, and he proved that over the years that he played in the game. Mark, when I actually came back and as coach and was there, that was one of the biggest things I did, is making captain of the side, because he was a born captain. A born captain is one that everyone in that side respects him, and if he says do that, it's done. And I think that's the thing that I learned early days, that when the season pro said to me, no, it's not that way, it's this way, then you listened and learned and did it that way. One of the nicest things was that when we won the Premiership in '85, back as coach, it was a real, how can I say it, two St Helens people, Harry as a player, me as a past player and coach, and there with one of the biggest trophies in the game. It was a real thrill.
And then your relationship with Harry at Saints, I think you grew very close. You seem to have a tight bond together.
I think really the bond was that you had a respect. I certainly had a respect for him, the way he organised when he was on the field, it was like what I wanted, he was there as the present and did it. You know, this is how we go about it. He was a person that had a knowledge of the game as we were playing it, because it was always, people had come here to be entertained by you, go out and do it. And he was so special, because he had a pair of hands and an head that you've got individual players now that specifically do one thing. He could do a number of things, and that was the quality he had. It wasn't just, as a for instance, passing a ball or whatever. He was like a magician with it. You know, he'd get a pass out to a player. If it was like, I want you out in midfield, I want you there, I want you to come in and it happens. And he had that touch of class that it just happened with him.
Do you think Harry Pinner then would stand up in today's game as it is?
Well, anyone with the quality they had in any game, but it's once again, it's pointless in having just one superstar if he hasn't got help from other quarters. And this is what I felt, that at the time we had enough young local lads that responded to him. I think that was the key to it, that they were local, and they shown that if that's what we've got to do, then we will go and entertain. I think, as I said, the majority was local talent, and they did the business really, really well. It was a privilege for me. And like as I said, we've kept in touch over all the years since. We enjoyed our times at his pub when he was at Newtonley Willers. We had some special days after some good victories. But he is a gentleman, and he'd honour anyone. His dad was a gem. I thought Ali's dad was a real gem.
And as I said, don't get me wrong, I played under Dougie, I played under Maurice Bamford for Great Britain, Eric Ashton, but I was only a lad then, and Eric was good with me, obviously.
Yeah.
But I would say Billy's been, Billy was, Billy be the one for me.
So when the time came, how did it come? Did you to retire? I mean, did you think, right, I've had enough. I need to, because some players have said to me, Ali, that they finished too soon and wish they hadn't. But did you think, yeah, it's right for me?
I only met him at the latter end of his rugby, when he was doing his testimonial. Then I was with, I know him then when he went to Carlisle and then coaching at Wigan. So I missed a lot of his early years, really.
What do you remember of him when he went to Carlisle and the travelling and the prepping for games?
Hard, because it was a long journey, and winter time then it was cold, freezing, and Harry usually had a driver that took him up there, and I stayed in the pub, looking after Joe in the pub.
Was he quite demanding with his diet? Did he ask for certain foods before a game or after a game? Do you remember?
He was much more of a steak man and veg, and the odd chips, ? But no, he was just normal, nothing special really.
Nothing special?
Nothing special, but did a lot of training, trained a lot.
Do you remember him training a lot?
Yes, a lot.
Even when he was in the pub?
Even when he was in the pub. Always trained every day, and even when we went on holiday, he'd train every day.
Christmas Day?
Train.
Train on Christmas Day,
yeah.
Boxing Day, every day?
Well, he did, because he always had to play, and the only way he could play is being fit himself.
What was he like living with when he'd finished playing and coaching? Was there a change in lifestyle?
I think what happened with Harry is that he had a bit of a downer out of the rugby. He had a few little issues that we resolved. It was just because he wasn't involved with the rugby. It's what you call depression, and we've had years of that. He still has it, but it's controlled.
Very tough for sports people when they finish. It's such a big part of their lives to then turn that off and start a different type of life. It's very challenging.
It's very much, and I think one of the things that helped Harry was when we were at the park, and he was really, really down. He had times where for months he didn't come downstairs, and he got talking to somebody who helped him to go to a psychiatrist, and then he got involved with fishing, and that really helps him now. Fly fishing, that is his release, his escape from things like that.
Does it help him focus?
Very much so.
What advice would you give to sports people now who are finishing their careers and moving into another part of their life?
I think one of the things I've learnt with Harry is to have something outside that sport that'll keep you occupied, whether it's fly fishing, having another sport.
One of my great loves was boxing. I did a little bit as boxing at Low House many years ago, but I don't think I won many fights, to be honest with you. But I do love boxing. It's probably, apart from rugby league, gives me the sport I really like. And the three things in my life, what sport-wise, was rugby league, boxing, and then my bulldogs. There was a big part of my life. But I went to see quite a few Ricky Hatton fights. He was one of my heroes. We went, me and a guy called Dave Stretch, who, God bless him, is dead now. We went a few times to Las Vegas and watched Ricky. Watched him in Manchester beat Costa Zoo, but he failed against Mayweather. And but as I say, that was I love boxing, and I followed boxing a lot for years. This picture was when he went to Sportsman's dinner, and Evander Holyfield was the guest speaker, who again was one of my favourites. For the size of him, fighting heavyweights, he had tremendous power, and as we all know, that he beat Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson bit him, and he took a chunk out of his ear. But again, Holyfield was fantastic. But on the picture there is, again, it's my mate Dave Stretch, and then on the end is Mike Nicholas, and I don't think I'd like to have split Mike Nicholas up and Holyfield, because Mike was a ferocious player when he was playing, and we had a great night that night. Again, at another sportsman's dinner, who myself and Mike Nicholas went. He loved his boxing as well, and it's Smoking Joe Fraser, who was definitely my hero. He would never take a backward step, and that left hook of his was unbelievable. I got introduced to him, and obviously that's a famous picture for me, because again I loved the fights with when he fought Cassius Clay, and that left hook that knocked Clay down was fantastic. I loved him to bits.
Or just taking up walking, art, anything, just to get yourself back focused on another theme.
I made a mistake, and I don't like saying it, but I went to Carlisle.
Yeah.
I was signed in summer, but then when the winter come, it was just an absolute disaster, travelling down there twice for training and then playing. And I had a pub, and we just had our daughter Joanne.
When I was about 4 or 5, I was in school, and a child come up to me as we was leaving school and said, "Excuse me, can your dad give my dad an autograph?" And I didn't have a clue at the time why he was asking that. And I went home and I just said to my dad, "Why does someone want your autograph?" Because I didn't have a clue how good he was at rugby at the time.
Or how famous he wasn't well known.
Yeah, he was just my dad to me.
All the players, the grounds you've played on, we've mentioned the coach, you're a big Billy Bennion fan. What about players, Harry? Maybe if you was say starting a team today as a coach, right? And you could have, excuse me, one player to build your team around. Be it somebody you've played with, somebody you've played against, or maybe some player you've only watched.
George Nichols.
Really? Tell me why.
Just big heart, good with people, captained. He was a good captain. You know, if there was any fighting or any trouble, George would be the first one to take the ball in after the fight, where everybody's wound up and thinking, right, well, I'm going to give it in. But, you know, I've actually had George belt me on the head because, like you said, you're trying to do too much. Get out the way.
Yeah.
You know, and as I said, you know, my dad said to him when I was 17, will you look after him till he gets established the first team? And George always says now, I didn't know I'd still be looking after him 50 years on, because I'm 67 now. Like, so, and George said he still looks after me now. So, but he's been really great with me. A lot of good players as well. As I said, Billy Bennion, Lippy's, you know, but as I said,
a lot of
come through with.
So, what about favourite grounds then? And because you've played in them all, Challenge Cup finals, Grand finals, as they were then, Premiership finals, and obviously the league games as well, friendlies, Challenge Cup. Did you ever have a favourite ground to think, I love playing here?
I like Leeds and I like Salford, funny enough. I think Salford might have been because there was a nightclub and we used to go there after the game. The Willows.
Yeah.
The Willows, yeah. So, no, but I like the Willows. That was that was the name of the ground then, the Willows, wasn't it? And I like Leeds.
What about a ground that you thought, you know, week before kind of thing, who are we playing this week? Oh, crikey, you know.
Yeah.
I don't fancy going there.
Well, that doesn't sound good saying that, but OKR was really always hard.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know,
was that the dog track? Did you have a dog track round it then? I know it was this.
No, I think that was Hull, wasn't it? Oh no, it was OKR. You're right. But they had like Phil Lowe, 6'6" or whatever. Paul Rose, 6'5". Len Casey, mad as an hatter, good player, but hard as nails. And I used to think, oh God, we've got OKR in a fortnight. I remember me and Lippy's substitute one day, just after Christmas, and the ground was rock hard. Anyway, Saints had just signed Eddie Cunningham.
Right.
He was a great player. And so we go to OKR, I'm sub, Lippy's a sub, and Eddie Cunningham was playing loose forward then, because he just kept getting into the side. They kick off, me and him's on the bench, next to Eric Ashton. So we kick off, and Derek Noonan catches the ball, he runs the ball out. Len Casey hits him with the elbow, and he swallowed his tongue.
Oh, heck.
Well, that's what I thought, oh heck. So they run on, they sort him out and that, but obviously he had to go off. So me and Lippy's in the dugout with Ash, all wrapped up and everything. So Ash said, get changed, get stripped. So we knew then one of us was going, but I knew he was going to go on. Obviously, he's going to put Eddie in the centre and me at loose forward. Well, you've never heard Lippy say it as quick. It's you that, get on, get changed. So I had to go on, but, you know, OKR was always very, very hard.
Right. Your Great Britain career, which is a good one.
You know, it's everybody's dream to play for Great Britain. You know, and as I say, well, it's anybody's dream. That's all I can say. And it was my dream as well, because all the years that as a kid I wanted to play for Great Britain, and more than anything, I always had the thought of hoping to be captain of Great Britain. So it was, you know, it was fantastic. You couldn't go any higher than playing for your country or Great Britain, could you? But there was nerves, and but I knew I was playing with some great players as well.
You also went on and captained Great Britain. Do you remember how that came around?
Well, I was captain of Saints, and I got called up into the Great Britain team. And how we got captain really was Maurice Bamford was coach, and he'd picked me as the captain, but hadn't told all the players. And we did like a survey, if that's a word, a survey to see who they would pick as captain. And I got the most votes. So to know that players who you're playing with and they wanted you to be captain, you know, was a fantastic honour and a really good confident booster.
Credit to that lad, and I'm sure that this Great Britain skipper Harry Pinner, he must be delighted with this win here today. Talking now to Alex Murphy, and he must be thrilled to bits.
A great team performance, Alec. Over the moon with the lads. We've worked hard, you know, for the last 12 months. I'm over the moon with the lads.
Well, obviously, after the last performance at Headingley, this must be a really great shot in the arm for Great Britain Rugby League.
Yeah, well, we worked hard in the first test and we thought we was unlucky to lose that. But we've done the job right today, haven't we, Alec?
When we played New Zealand, it was a drawn series with New Zealand, who at that time we played at Leeds, and they just beat us. Then we played at Wigan, and we beat them. And then the third test was at Helen Road, and we drew. I think it was 6-6. So the series was drawn, which was a great result for us, and I was obviously over the moon with being captain as well. When again, there's so many great players that played in that side. Again, you know, Joe Lydon, Ellery Hanley, Goodway, Andy Gregg, who's a great scrum half. So to be captain over them was a fantastic honour. Tony Myler, great player. You know, there's a lot of really good established players, and to captain them was fantastic. But to be honest with you, they was all captains really. Obviously, I was captain, but you know, when you've got so many great players around you, like there was Des Drummond as well. You know, I could.
We're all leaders.
Yeah,
class them as leaders anyway.
Yeah, that's
even though
right.
They weren't captain.
That's right.
Yeah, which hopefully helped you in your role as skipper.
It certainly did. Yeah.
Yeah. And we've got next to you an international jersey from France versus Great Britain, 1985. What can you tell us about this jersey?
Well, I think that might have been the Battle of Albi. There must have been about 23 fights in there. But luckily I wasn't in any, because I wasn't really that good of a boxer or fighter. But yeah, it was really, I think they called it the Battle, as I say, Battle of Albi. But that I swapped jerseys with the French lad, and years after, my cousin went to France, and he got talking to these rugby lads, and he said who he was, that I was his uncle. And the next thing, he said, I've got your uncle Harry Pinner's shirt. He said, and look, I'm sure that you'd like it. And he actually went home and brought the shirt back for me.
Wow.
He said, so I said, you know, it's come back to me eventually. So it'll be for my grandchildren, obviously.
Save that one for your grandchildren.
Yeah.
Excellent. And do you remember if we won that game at all?
I don't think we ever got beat against France, to be honest with you. We got some black eyes and bursted lips and noses over there. It wasn't so bad over here, but...
You got beat up, but you didn't get beat.
They dished it over there. Yeah, they did. But yeah, I think we beat them 12-10. I'm not sure.
Can you remember anything about your final game at Great Britain?
I think my final game was the third test against New Zealand, and we drew the series. That was a really tough game as well. You know, they had the Sorensens, Mark Graham, Hugh McGann, Dean Bell. Kemble was the Leigh. You know, there were some great players, but so did we. You know, we had great players as well. And Leigh Crooks kicked a goal late on in the match to draw. I'm not sure what score it was, I can't remember, to draw the series. But as I say, you know, Mark Graham was a great loose forward.
Yeah, some cracking players you've just mentioned.
That's right.
How fondly do you look back on those international games that you played?
Well, you do look back. Well, I only look back at the ones we won. Didn't look back so many against Australia, to be honest. Yeah, but no, we had some good dues with Australia. You know, a few times we put them to the sword, but anyway, we never beat them.
Just to lighten it up or brighten it up a little bit, if you like, as regards Great Britain. Tell me the story when you're playing, I think, France. You'll correct me if I'm wrong. The referee, Billy Thompson.
Yeah.
Now, did it so happen that you were room?
And who was next door to us? Only Billy Thompson, referee.
What was you and Lippy decided you'd play a trick?
Well, it wasn't a trick really. We shouldn't have done it. We got the key of Billy's bedroom, and there was like outside in the foyer there was like a fish tank with little crayfish in.
So we both looked at each other thinking, put him in his bed.
Anyway, we got Billy's key, and we took the crayfish through. So I said to Lippy, put some in his bed.
And we did.
But I meant just like get a couple and plonk them in. But Lippy didn't. He turned the goldfish ball over. Well, it was like a big... And they was all flapping about in the bed and everything. So we had to try and get them back to put them back. Anyway, the next thing we heard Billy Thompson coming. So we just did.
Can you hear his scream? Did Santa Molinos?
So Billy had a bit of a nightmare with us that year.
In maybe the season after, you'd got out your car at Knowsley Road playing Leeds. Am I right in saying, well, Graham's actually related this to me, whereby just coincidence, and Graham said to Billy, Dirk Thompson, you know that incident, he said, I don't like saying this and I'm not a grass, but it was David Ward. And Billy said, oh, was it? Finish off. So,
well, the bottom line is that's what Lippy said.
That's false. Honest to God, it's false.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Wardy never won a scrum. He said, and when he did win a scrum, he got penalised for feet up. So I think David Ward to this day wonders why Billy kept penalising him.
Yeah.
That was the story.
Harry, we've talked a lot in about your career in the game. Great career though it was, but away from the game, like most of us anyway, then people like myself old enough and yourself, grandchildren play a major part. Now I do know twin boys, am I right in saying? Four and 11, sorry, and two girls, 4 and 7?
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
And I understand, and you'll tell us all about it, all 4 children, great interest and doing well in the game.
Yeah.
My name is Frankie. My name's Leigh.
My name is Wigan.
My name's Harry.
And our granddad is Harry Pinner.
What do you know about your granddad? Tell me.
That he's a loose forward like me.
He's a loose forward like you. Yeah, he was, yeah. What else about him?
He was a professional rugby player.
A professional rugby player?
Captain Great Britain and St Helens.
Captain America.
Yeah.
No,
So,
Captain America, I said.
And what other things would you do when you were out on the field with your dad as a young child?
He spent time with me passing on the wrong side. You know how you always have a best better side than the other side. You know, he'd tie like a ribbon to a tree and have me passing the wrong, like the bad way, if that's what you want to call it, and hitting the ribbon. So it was just practice.
You spent hours working on your weaker side passing to develop those skills further.
Yeah, I think most players will tell you that we always have a better side. It's a bit like football. Most footballers are better with the right than the left, so they practice obviously with the left, that type of thing.
As a young person, you'd be out on the field, you'd practice passing with your weaker side. What other technical things did you do when you were developing those skills?
Well, I did a lot of chipping through, that type of thing, and the small up and under, if that's what you want to call it, because then you could chip it over the line and catch it. Now I think now it goes back to 25 yard, 20 metre play the ball. But again, I had loads of friends that we practiced, so it wasn't just my dad. Because my dad, I'd drop goals, and my dad would be behind the sticks, and if it went left, if I was dropping goals and my dad was kicking it back, he'd be like the opposite side. It would have been quicker for me to go and get the ball myself. But obviously, he was there for me.
So it went further away from you after you'd kicked it back than it did when you kicked it.
It would have been easier for me to go and get the ball and run back, but God bless him, he still was there for me. These are the family pictures, as you can see. It says a future Saint skipper, raring to go. I think I was about 2 years of age there. Then the other one was the curly kid. It was myself and my sister, our Pat. And as you can see, I had curls there. But people used to say that I looked like a little girl, so my dad wasn't happy with that. So I had a haircut. This picture was again with my mum and myself and my sister at Blackpool. Again, that's myself and our Pat. I think I'd be about 7 there. This was the school at the street team. What we had a team just building up, and as you can see there, I'm at the front there thinking I'm the captain. I don't know where I was. This one was, it says a boy wonder, a chunky youngster. So that was a nice picture. I think I was just getting in the side then. And there's another one with my mum and my sister at I think it was at Blackpool on holiday. And again, as I've said before, fishing was always my I love fishing, and this is one where I'm fishing with my dad, but it says I don't look that impressed with the size of his fish, but I've gone on to go fly fishing now on the river wharf at Skipton, Bolton Abbey, and the River Dee at Llangollen.
Your dad that got you into fishing?
Yeah, my dad was always a fisherman, so I think obviously you follow your dad, don't you, in a lot of ways, whatever he's doing, and he used to take me fishing. And then this picture is, I think I'm holding my stomach in there to get a 6-pack, but again, it was with my dad, and I think that was player of the match for some or player of the season. I'm not quite sure which that is, but again, my dad, helped me so much, and bring me on and encourage me.
How long have you been a wag?
Fishing.
You went fishing?
Yeah,
and did you catch? And did you catch any fish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Nanny, but Nanny took me and me and Nanny slipped in the water.
You and Nanny slipped in the water?
When I was younger, I just didn't think anything of it, and it used to annoy me when people used to talk about it. But as I've got older, I've realised what he's done, and it does make me proud to see it.
Really then, we expect to see you in a couple of years playing and captain in Great Britain. Just don't end up at Carlisle like your granddad.
What's it been like living with a legend of rugby league?
Hard.
He pulled his teeth out and he throws it at me.
He pulls his teeth out and throws it at you.
The biggest thing was I learned and I listened to people, and that's what I say to these. You know, the most important thing is your coaches and listening.